So this video is always my favourite to record. I absolutely love putting my TBR together for the following month, and today I am going to be building my TBR for the month of March. As always, I'm going to start with this jar, and in this jar I put all of your recommendations that you've shared with me. So if you're new to my channel, haven't watched one of my TBR videos before, I have got a book recommendation form in the description box down below. So if you want to recommend a book to me, if you've got an absolute favourite you really want me to read, then please don't hesitate to click on the link and fill in the form. And then what I do each month is I transfer your recommendations onto a bit of paper, turn it into a star and put it into this jar, and then going through 2025 I'll be picking 2 of your recommendations to read each month. So without further ado then, I'm going to pick my first recommendation. What I tend to do is put some stars out onto my lap here. I'm actually going to go for a green and a yellow one today. So first up then, I picked out this green star from the jar, so I'm just going to unwrap it and see which one it is. Okay, and I've actually picked out Resurrection by Siobhan Davis. This was recommended by @LovesMetallica8, and I've written down here that this is a dark high school reverse harem. So I will just hold that up here. Hopefully you can make that out. Okay, so this one is book 1 of the Sainthood Boys of Lowell High. So this one looks like it's an academic setting. It's 370 pages and was first published in January 2020. This says it's a dark enemies to lovers romance, and the blurb reads, "Everything changed the night my dad died. The night I met Saint, Galen, Kaz and Theo. Those manipulative a-holes set out to ruin me after our hot night together, but they didn't realise you can't destroy something that's already broken, and it only works if the victim cares, which I don't. Because I've been in hell for years and nothing penetrates the steel walls I've erected, until the Sainthood decides I belong to them and cracks appear in my veneer. Their cruel games, harsh words and rough touch awaken something inside me, and now I'm in trouble. They draw me deeper into their dangerous world until I'm in the middle of all the violence and gang warfare, tangled up in all the secrets and lies, and there's no turning back. Because they own me and nothing has ever felt so right. I'm exactly where I should be. But with enemies on all sides, survival becomes a deadly game with no guarantees, and sometimes saints become sinners." So looking at this, I also do think this is part of a trilogy, because it says it can't be read as a standalone and ends with a cliffhanger. Although there's 4 books in this series, the last one is actually an epilogue novella, so it looks like this is a trilogy about the same characters, which I guess is fair because it's a reverse harem. There's 5 characters involved. If I'm going to read a reverse harem, I do like to read something that obviously helps us to develop relationships with all of the characters. So that'll be interesting to put on my TBR, and hopefully I'll enjoy that first one and go on to read the other books in that trilogy as well. So next up then, I picked up a yellow star. This is sort of half opened here already, so that makes my life easier because I always really struggle to open these sometimes. Okay, and this is one that's been recommended to me on a number of occasions and has been on my kind of watch list, if you like, and this is Blood of My Monster by Rina Kent. This is also another trilogy. This is book 1 of a trilogy, which is a dark mafia romance, and this one has been recommended by Nikki J3062. So I'll just hold that up there so you can just see that that is the one that I picked. Okay, so this is 349 pages. It was first published in January 2023, so actually not too long ago. And the blurb on this one says, "I'm out for revenge. He's out to rule the world. Kirill and I are as different as night and day. We shouldn't have been in the same frame or universe, but we meet under the strangest circumstances. He's my superior in the military and the man who'll introduce me to carnage. His charm and exterior perfection shouldn't have tempted me. Behind the smokescreen lurks a manipulative, emotionless monster, and that monster might find out all my secrets, including the reason why I'm pretending to be a man. He might also lure me to the point of no return." So like I said, that's book 1, part of a trilogy, following the same couple. I know it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, but I really enjoy Rina Kent's writing, so I'm actually excited to read this one, and I hope that I'll like it and go on to read the other books in the series as well. So next up then, I'm going to pick a recommendation from this jar, and in this jar I've actually got kind of 12 recs from 12 booktubers, because what I did at the start of the year, I watched all of my favourite YouTubers share their top favourites of 2024, and then I picked one from each of them that I hadn't read yet but really wanted to get to, and I popped it into this jar. So through 2025 I'm going to be picking one out each month, and then eventually by the end of the year we'll have nothing left in the jar. Okay, so I'm going to pick out this green one here. And this one is Whispers of the Deep by Emma Hamm. This was recommended by Ava's Romance Books, and I believe this one is a fantasy romance between a human and a merman. So I'll hold that up there so you can see that that is the one I picked from the jar. Okay, so this is book 1 of 4 currently planned. This is 381 pages, and it was first published in January 2024. It says, one of the many engineers that keeps Beta, the city under the sea, running, Mira only wants to make her family proud and to prove herself worthy. She knows the mysterious city better than anyone, and it's her dream to help it flourish. But then, on a solo job in an abandoned section of the city, she encounters a monster of legend, an Undine, a dangerous merman from an ancient civilization long forgotten. Argis has fought his entire life for his people. With deadly creatures under his control, he plans to eradicate Beta once and for all to protect his kind and their peaceful way of life. But when a human woman saves him, she unknowingly creates a bond between them, one he can't ignore. Even though her flaming red hair haunts his dreams, he needs her for information on the Undine's enemies. So he steals her, keeps her, feeds her, only to realise their bond is far deeper than captor and captive. He cannot let her go, but he cannot keep her under the sea. In a battle to determine if love can survive a war beneath the waves, it'll be their decision that changes the tides. And then finally then, from the mystery books, I always then use some prompt cards to help me pick a book that's been on my TBR for a while. And I'm going to be using this set of cards, and the one on the top here, Read a Book That's Gone Viral on TikTok, was the one that I picked out last month. So I'm going to just discard that one, put it to one side, and then I'm going to shuffle these and see what we end up with on the top here. Okay, so the one I've picked here then is Read the Book at the Bottom of Your TBR Shelf. So I don't strictly have a TBR shelf, but I do have a wish list on Amazon. So on Amazon I have a number of wish lists, and this is how I kind of keep track of the books that I want to read. So if someone recommends a book to me, I hear a booktuber talking about a specific book and it sounds really good, I add it to my wish list on Amazon so that I don't forget about it, and then if I'm in the mood for a particular type of book, I can flick through that list and see what takes my fancy. So I've actually broken down my wish list into various categories, and I've got a wish list for mafia and dark romance, one for contemporary romances, I've got one for fantasy romance, one for kink romance, one for Christmas romances, and also one for historical romances as well, and that's kind of how I divide up wish lists or my TBRs. What I'm going to do for this one is actually pick my dark mafia romance list. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. So actually I've completely forgotten about this book. I have absolutely no idea why I added it to my TBR, but the one right at the bottom is a book called Beautifully Brutal by Dani, Rene, and it's book 1 of Soldati de Sanguine, and it looks like there's 8 books in the series in total. So this first book has 367 pages and was first published in April 2019, and it looks like it's a mafia romance. The blurb says, my beast hungers to be satiated, and my beauty is the only one who can feed it. In a world ravaged with violence, I still think about the beauty who was taken from me. I've turned rabid in her absence. The dormant beast she had tamed is ravenous, feeding on brutality and bloodshed. I focus on the kill until Arthur confesses his trump card, shattering every hope I had of reclaiming her. Focused on the job at hand, I step into the lion's den, only to find nothing is as it seems. My beast hungers to be satiated, and my beauty is the only one who can feed it. And it says, it's a dark, treacherous journey where happily ever after may be just out of reach. So yeah, like I say, I can't remember why I put that on my wish list, but it's definitely there, and that is the one I'm going to pick up and read next month. Okay, so now we've got the jars and the prompt cards out of the way. Next up, I'm going to share 4 additional books that I'm going to be reading next month. The first 2 that I'm going to talk about are part of the Immortals After Dark series, because Amber from Amber Reads Romance is doing a Immortals After Dark readathon, where we're trying to read 2 books every month until the end of the year so that we catch up and read all of the books in that particular series. So I am caught up so far for January and February. I've read 4 books in the series, and this is the first month actually that I'm going to have to read 2 of them, because previously I'd already read 2, so I only kind of had to read 1 in January, 1 in February, and now in March I need to read books 5 and 6 in the series. Okay, so book 5 in the series is called Dark Deeds at Night's Edge. This one is 388 pages. It was first published back in 2011. And this one follows Conrad Roth, who is one of the vampire brothers that we've seen so far in the series. So I'm really interested in his story. The blurb on this one says, the deliciously seductive Immortals After Dark series continues with the story of an exiled vampire and a phantom ballerina entangled in a passionate romance that transcends mortality. Naomi Renata, a famous ballerina of her century, became a phantom the night she was murdered. Stuck between the realms of the living and dead, she is cursed to relive her harrowing death each month during the full moon. She haunts her old home, scaring away those who dare to trespass, until one day she encounters an inhabitant far more terrifying than herself. Conrad Roth has been half mad for centuries. To protect others, his brothers lock him in an abandoned house where he first beholds Naomi Renata and is instantly captivated by her beauty. Driven by desire, Conrad is determined to claim her as his own no matter what it takes. But even if he does manage to win her heart, will Conrad be able to defeat the evil forces tormenting her and figure out a way to bring her back to life? So that is book 5. And then book 6 is Dark Desires After Dusk. This one is 388 pages and it was first published also in 2011. In this one we're following Cadian, or Cade, who is a demon, and we just met him in book 4 that I've just finished reading. So the blurb on this one says, the Immortals After Dark series continues with a deliciously seductive romance between a powerful demon and a halfling who can't escape his touch. Plagued by guilt, Cadian of the Rage Demons will stop at nothing to atone for losing his brother's kingdom. But when he captures the key to his redemption, Holly Ashwin, his halfling-fated mate, her immaculate beauty haunts him just as much as his troubled past. When Cade witnesses Holly's kidnapping, he has no choice but to protect her. Raised a human, Holly never believed in the legends she'd heard until she encounters Cade, devilishly handsome demon who inexplicably guards her like treasure and is thrust into a new world of myths and power. As Holly begins to trust him, she finds herself burning for his untamed love. Will Cade be forced to betray the only woman who can sate his wildest needs and claim his heart? So that's the next 2 books in the Immortals After Dark series that I'm hoping to pick up in March. Then I've got 2 new releases that I really want to get to in March as well. And the first one is Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This one is due out on the 4th of March, I believe. The blurb on this one says, I'd always dreamed of my wedding day, but not like this, not looking into the eyes of the man who betrayed me. But when my nephew's guardianship is contested, I decide I'll do whatever it takes to keep him in Rose Hill, even if it means marrying the enemy, Reese Dupree. A man who is secretive, broody, and completely infuriating. A man whose work takes him away for weeks on end and brings him back covered in mysterious bruises, ones he won't talk about. In fact, we barely talk at all. Which would be fine, except when he's not talking, he's staring, and the way he looks at me is borderline indecent. The tension between us has always been palpable, but living under the same roof is a dangerous temptation. I swore I would never forgive him, but that was before I knew the man behind the mask. The one who's fierce and protective, the one who's gentle and patient, the one who shows up for us when we need him most. He's not at all who I thought he was, and that makes hating my husband so much harder and loving him just a little too easy. So I absolutely love everything that Elsie Silver has written. I've read everything, in fact, apart from the last book in her last series, but I will get to that eventually. But I've been loving the Rose Hill series so far, so definitely want to give that one a go. And the other one that I really want to prioritise when it comes out next month is Kiss the Villain by Rina Kent, because this is kind of the honorary 7th book in the Legacy of God series, and it's due out on the 20th of March. And the blurb says, my darkness meets a darker soul. I'm a golden boy, a genius law student, the heir to the Carson Empire and their dutiful son. Or at least that's what it looks like from the outside. Deep inside I have the urge to set the world on fire. I keep these impulses in check, rarely indulging in mayhem, until one night of debauchery backfires and I'm caught by a villain. I bury the entire ordeal with the rest of my skeletons, that is, until that night walks into my classroom in the form of my new professor, Caden Lockwood, a criminal who's teaching criminal law. I can't expose what he's done without unmasking my secret life. What I can do, however, is force him to taste the poison he gave me. In the Clash of Titans, Caden and I break and crumble, and I'm starting to realise this dangerous game may have no winners. So, like I say, I cannot wait for that. That's an Dark Enemies to Lovers romance. Okay, so that's all 8 books that I'm going to commit to reading in the month of March, and that leaves me some wiggle room to read some other books when I get the urge to do so, or if I really like the first books in the trilogies that I picked out, I'll be going on to read more of those, or at least prioritising them for a future month. So thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content from me. And as always, if you want to recommend a book to me so I can pop it into the jar for a chance to pull out next time, you can put a comment in the comments box telling me what you recommend, or fill out my book recommendation form, and the link to that is in the description box down below. So all that's left for me to do then is thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Due out on the 20th of March, and the blurb says, I'm a golden boy. Oh, that's not what the blurb says. And now in January, I'm going to need. And now in March, I'm going to. And now in March, I need to read. Next up, I'm going to share with you 4 additional books that I am going. And I'm going to be using this. Oh, I'm already recording. Hee hee.